Okay, I'm going to do a series of videos on wiring up Appfuse with the new JQuery plugins. Well, not exactly new, but not very old either. So I've been using Appfuse for quite a while, and it's proven to be a very stable fusion of some of the more popular frameworks that we use to develop web applications. I've used it in production for probably 5 or 6 years now in a couple of different companies, anywhere from a few hundred to thousands of users, and it's always been rock solid. So the thing with using some of these frameworks is there's so many different pieces you have to try and put together, and you know, trying to keep track of all its dependencies and all of its configurations and whatnot can be pretty daunting when all you really want to do is write a production web application. So Matt Rabel at Appfuse has been doing this now for a long time, where he has these pre-configured starter sets that you can just basically start out with, and it has all the dependencies are already worked out. And more recently with Appfuse 2, now it's been migrated up to Maven, so it makes it real easy to get a starter system set up. Although I'm not real big on Maven, I tend to de-Mavenize the project after I build it, but it does make it easier to keep track of all the dependencies that you're going to use to build the war file that I eventually gut and convert to an Eclipse application, a web app, my Eclipse actually. So of course you can just go to Google, type in Appfuse 2, and it's here, and you know, you can read some of the information about it. There's plenty of documentation here about why you would want to use Appfuse. Of course, there's a user mailing list that I belong to. You can go to the demos and the videos and the quick start guide. The quick start guide, if you just follow the procedures here, you can end up with a quick starter system. And so Appfuse is a couple of different front-end frameworks, Spring, JSF. I particularly use Struts2, and we're using Struts2 in this example of because, well, the JSON plugin and the JQuery plugin for Struts2 is what makes it happen. So that's what we're going to be using. And the default project is Struts2. So if you download your JDK, I'm using JDK 6. I'm using the latest MySQL. For the SMTP server, what I tend to do is I use SMTP dev null mailer. It's basically a mail server written in Java, and all it does is listen on port 25, captures the mail, and throws it in dev null. Or you can optionally, from the command line, there's an option you can tell it to save all the mails in a folder, which comes in really handy when you're testing. So what I usually do on my Linux box is I disable send mail, and then I have a little shell script that starts this up. You can start it from the command line. You download the jar file, and here are the command line options, and I just put together a little shell script that fires this up pretty much like this from the console. Just keep in mind that you are going to run on port 25. I can't remember if the Appfuse configuration will let you change the port of the mail. Maybe it can, but if not, you have to be root to start this up, because it is going to listen to port 25, and then you don't have to worry about mails, especially in a production environment or production company. Sometimes the mail can escape and get out the door, and you don't want that. So I've been using dev null mailer for a long time, and it's wonderful. So that's one option, and of course you have to install Maven. I had some problems with Maven 3 with the current Appfuse trying to do the source build, so you want to stick with the 2.2 version. So here you just select some of your options, and then you copy and paste this into the command line on your Linux box or Windows machine, and watch the fun happen. Once you're done, what I usually do then is I run the full source. This way you get all the source code into the project, because you're going to need that if you want to build it outside of this environment. Then Once I do that, then I tend to run the there's a Maven war command. I run that, and that will create a war file from this. You can also run Maven Jetty run and then do like it says here, just to make sure everything works. And you can log in and then run the war. And then what I usually do is I take the war file and I unwind it, and then I drag the parts, into My Eclipse. So I create a My Eclipse web app and unwind the war, and then I just drag everything over into it in the appropriate locations. I'll show you that here in a second. Not how I did it. It's obvious how I did it. You just open it up and you can see where the things go. Except for the libs, I move them around a little bit, and you'll see. So the other nice thing about Appfuse is it also comes with role-based auth, so you can have authentication and authorization that's role-based. It's JDBC based when you get it. There's a database backend for that, which I've migrated over to Oracle out of MySQL. That's the other thing too. My project is Oracle based, not MySQL based. Corporate America tends to be more Oracle than MySQL, although that could be changing because now Oracle owns it. So okay, so once you put this together, then another nice thing, because Appfuse, I'm using basically Struts2, Spring Security, Hibernate. It comes with Site Mesh. So Site Mesh is kind of a templating engine. So all these things pre-wired together just makes it so much easier to do stuff. So what you want to do is go ahead and do this, and then build your Eclipse app or whatever it is you want to use. I'm sure you could use NetBeans. There's actually a section in the documentation that talks about plugging it into different IDEs, so you could take a look at that. One of the other things here is demos and videos. There's an example video on building a simple CRUD app using Struts2 and Hibernate and Spring. The other thing too is that all the source code for the demos are here. It's been a while. Let's see. Nope, it's over here, source. Okay, so you can browse the source tree, and the demo that I used here